What is the strangest thing you've seen that you cannot explain? I sneezed my back into place after being couch-bound for nearly a year and a half. Within 15 minutes it felt like that year and a half was a distant memory. My dad passed away in 1992. Among other things, I inherited a 1980 Chevy LUV pickup. It may have been through ignorance, but I had looked high and low for 4 bolts that needed replaced on the U-joint. They were special and shouldered. I stopped everywhere looking for these bolts. Chevy nor Isuzu had them. I was at my wit's end as I had been looking for 2 months. One day a buddy of mine and me stopped at a hamburger joint that had a parts store next to it. We got out and I said, I am going to check this parts store, and I had one of the bolts in my hand. As we were walking to the store, a guy that I can only describe that looked like the Jesus your grandmother had a picture of on her wall walked by us and said howdy or some crap. But here is what freaked me out. He said, "Those look like they are U-joint bolts for a Chevy LUV pickup. I bet you are having a heck of a time." Yes, he said, heck, finding them. "Come over here, I think I have some in my truck." He walked over to his truck, looked in a 5-gallon bucket and handed me 4 perfect bolts exactly like I needed. My jaw dropped. I tried to pay him or buy him a hamburger and he said no, just help someone else out if you get the chance. That was 28 years ago and I remember it like it was yesterday. Edit, thanks for the awards and all, but thanks for the replies. I swear this is a true story and happened just like I said. I don't talk as much to the guy that was with me that day, but he always asks if I have ran into JC lately. Living in a dorm, no roommate. Night before 2-hour open book final, I put my book in the middle of the floor so I'll stumble over it on the way out. The floor has nothing else on it. In the morning it's gone. I look all over the room, can't find it. I think I'm hysterically blind, so I feel over every inch of the floor with my hands. Nothing. I go get a cup of coffee and come back, still nothing. By now there's only 1 hour for the test. I go anyway and do the best I can. Naturally, when I get back, the book is in the middle of the floor exactly where I put it. Probably a prank, but how? I'm not that heavy a sleeper. Nobody took credit for it. Something so similar happened to me too. I lost an important piece of paper right after bringing it home. Looked everywhere. After 2 weeks I decided I'd call the company and have a copy sent. I walked into the kitchen the day I planned to call and pulled a lunch container out of the fridge. I went into the living room to grab my phone and came back to the kitchen to microwave my lunch. The missing paper was sitting on top of my lunch container. Writing this out is giving me serious creeps all over again. I'm all shaky. We lost a cookie sheet a couple years ago. I mean, it was gone. For months. Then, one day, it turned up leaning between the kitchen sink and the wall. Like, chest height at the most visited place in the house. Not exactly seen, but it's strange. I was around 6 and on Wednesday evening I went to bed. I woke up and it was Friday. I remember asking my mom why it is Friday when yesterday it was Wednesday. She said yesterday was Thursday, obviously. I asked her what I did on Thursday because the last thing I remember is going to sleep on Wednesday. She named some activities and I remembered none of that. I never found out why I don't remember the Thursday. This happened to my friend a couple of weeks ago. Hers were caused by medication that she sometimes took, but this time she completely blacked out and woke up days later. During that time she apparently woke up, did chores around the house and talked to people, but she only remembers going to sleep and then waking up 2 days later. It was super weird. Not only that a medicine she took before had this effect, but it also never happened again. So in 2013, I was smoking a cig with my buddy and his schizophrenic neighbor in Denton, Texas. This neighbor was the nice kind of off, never acting mean or violent. So we were actually pretty good friends. Anyway, during the middle of the cig, the neighbor acts like he just got hit with an energy wave, and runs out into the yard. He begins to start rhythmically dancing and chanting about the meteor. What I could understand was that he felt the meteor, and he said that he felt it falling, and then with a final jerk, he said the meteor had exploded. At that same time, on the other side of the world, an enormous meteor exploded over Russia. If you are wondering, no, there was no advanced warning. And yes, part of me does suspect that he somehow knew. Web link. Ooh, this is a good one. I saw a beer bottle drop from a 13th floor window into bricks and it bounced. Glass bottles are strong as F, don't F with them. Edit, I meant beer bottles more specifically. Except for when they fall like 2 feet. Then they shatter into the smallest, most annoying pieces of glass to clean up, that you still find 2 weeks after it fell. Many years ago I worked in a grocery store. I was coming out of the break room one day and happened to look off to my side just in time to witness an entire display of champagne bottles get knocked over. There had to have been at least 20 bottles that all exploded simultaneously. Almost everything in about a 25-foot radius was covered in champagne, and we were still finding pieces of glass months later. I was driving away from a gas station. Out of nowhere, a guy in a suit comes running up to my minivan and starts yanking the door. As if he knew me, he began pleading, "Come on, let me in." Luckily my doors were locked. I asked him who the hell he was through my window. He looked genuinely surprised that I wouldn't let him in. After I refused to let him in, his facial expression inverted, as if he just realized something horrible. He let go of my car, said something to the effect of, "You're one of them, aren't you?" Then he ran away behind the gas station and into the woods. Full suit and tie, nice shoes, extremely frantic in nature, zero explanation. I'm praying it was some elaborate troll or meth or something, because the look in that man's eyes was pure terror when I didn't let him in. This one is so unique because you were both having a terrifying experience, just not together laughing my butt off. Since this is almost certainly mental illness, it's heartbreaking to think that his terror at the realization that you were one of them was completely real for him. Poor guy. Plot twist: original post. Imagine the man. Mental illness. That's the only thing I could think of. Probably even a schizophrenic episode. I saw an episode of Dateline about a well-accomplished lawyer who began to suffer from schizophrenic delusions and basically began imagining people doing surveillance on him and stalking him. I believe he had either disappeared at one point or committed suicide. It wasn't what I saw as much as felt. I was on my way to Petersburg, a small island in Alaska, but the runway was too foggy, so I had to stay in Juneau at a hotel for the night. Anyway, the next morning I was sleeping and had my hand dangling in between the bed and the wall, and I swear on everything I felt something grab my hand. It had a grip like a very firm handshake, and it literally woke me up out of a dead sleep. I actually got up and checked under the bed and nothing was there. It was very weird. Did you stay up with the light on, rocking and sobbing in the corner the rest of the night? Seems like the only logical thing to do after that. You could also do a bunch of meth and try to fight the demon, since you won't be getting any sleep either way. What did you expect, idiot? Most people learn at a young age never to dangle an appendage over the edge. That's how they get you. Squirrel wearing a leaf cape. Edit, thank you everyone. Also, yes, this was a real moment. I don't know if maybe the leaf was stuck or if the leaves were somehow knotted, but it was so quick. Got pics? No, I can't explain. Edit, I somewhat explained. Understandable, have a great day. Was driving home from work one afternoon with my brother and cousin in the car. As we were sitting in traffic, I noticed high up in the sky and way out in the distance a small motionless black square. I pointed it out and both my brother and my cousin spotted it quickly, so I know it wasn't in my head. It just remained still for about 45 minutes and then the sun had set and it was too dark to spot it any longer. It just stayed in the exact same spot the whole time, and while it was really far away you could still tell it was a perfect square shape. Once I got home I went online to see if there were any mentions of it anywhere, and there was nothing. To this day I still think about it and wonder WTF I was looking at. I had a similar experience few years ago. Big black square up in the sky on my way to work. Bothered the hell out of me. Few days later I saw it again. Said F work, got to go chase that thing. Got close enough to see it was a cylindrical hot air balloon. Boss didn't quite understand, but was pretty easy going. That being said, I just did a quick Google and can't seem to find mention of it online. That was in Saskatoon, Canada. As a guy currently in Saskatoon, Canada, y'all got to stop. I was actually having a conversation a few days ago with a group about weird things we've seen, and someone had mentioned a similar black square in the sky story. Outside my bedroom window was a paddock. And one morning I saw a rabbit running across towards the woods behind the paddock. It was a minimum of 5 foot tall. Edit, a little more detail and response to some common theories. It was bigger than a Flemish. I know they can get over 4 feet when stretched, but this lad was closer to 5 while still all hunched up. I had been awake for over an hour, so it wasn't a dream. My ex was with me and saw it as well. Same exact description as me. It was the brownish gray of a wild hare. The most rational explanation I can come up with, but still don't believe, is that it was a large gray kangaroo and was missing its tail. That would make it look more rabbit-like and could explain the way it moved. You saw the Easter bunny, my friend. Lamau, I guess my 20-year-old brain overlooked the simplest solution. You might have seen a kangaroo. They look like rabbits and sometimes hop like them from far away. I know some have escaped from zoos in other countries, they aren't just here in Australia. They adapt easily to lots of different terrain and would breed and multiply pretty quickly. Male kangaroos can grow up to 7 feet tall. I was driving home from work on the back roads and was driving behind a car that was the same make, model, and year of my car, just a different color. Further down the road, we both get into the turn lane to turn left onto a long, straight road with open fields on either side. The car in front of me turns onto this road and I wait for a car to pass, and then turn as well. It takes less than 5 seconds. However, when I turn onto the road, the car that had been driving in front of me was nowhere to be seen. This road has no turn-offs and it's long and straight, so you can see pretty far ahead of you. The car had just vanished and I still think about it today. I have a dash cam now, but I wish I had had one back then because I question what actually happened that day. Edit, I am 100% sure the car didn't do a U-turn. The roads are really narrow, so they wouldn't have been able to complete the U-turn without having to make it a 3-point turn or drive partly in the field. I also would have noticed because while there was enough time to complete a 90-degree turn in front of the car that was coming from the other direction, there was nowhere near enough time to complete a 180-degree turn without it either causing a wreck or something. After I turned onto this road and noticed the car was no longer in front of me, I looked all around me and could see the other car driving away behind me, but the car that looked like mine was nowhere to be seen. There was nowhere on that road where the car could have pulled off or I would have seen it. It was still very light outside, around 6:30 in June, and the road was surrounded by cotton fields, I believe, which do not grow high enough to cover a car. I have gone through every possible explanation and there just isn't a logical one. Just means last time you did that journey you were a bit quicker, and they forgot to disable the ghost car in time. It stopped being rendered because it was out of sight, to save memory. Yeah, this is a simple fix. His render distance was too low. I was once standing in line at Target. A mother and her, I guess, 3-year-old were in front of me in the checkout lane. I never met them before in my life. The child was riding in the shopping cart and the mother went forward to better unload it. The child looks dead at me, smiles, and laughs and said my first name, very clearly, twice. I have an uncommon first name, which made it even stranger. Edit, no, we didn't have name tags. Just blank white keycards for entering locked areas. The dress code was strictly professional suit and tie. On weekends, I never was into being some company's walking billboard. That kid had Shinigami eyes. 4 Amish men in a room counting money with a money counter while simultaneously weighing out my ounce of weed. Just wasn't what I was expecting. Back in the 80s, an Amish-run drug ring was broken up near me. Said ring would actually cross the border into Canada, smuggling their product in their buggies. I still remember a Canadian border guard testifying they never searched their vehicles because they were Amish, and couldn't conceive of them doing something illegal. Lowell reminds of the old story about the guy coming to the border between Spain and France every week on a motorcycle, carrying 2 bags of sand. Border guards searched the bags every time, but never found anything, so he had to let him through. Guard has his last day at work before retiring. Guy comes to the border again, carrying his 2 bags of sand. Guard says, "Look, man, it's my last day, I'm not going to bust you. You're clearly smuggling something across the border all this time, but we never find anything. What is it?" Guy says, "I'm smuggling motorcycles." True story. At a Volkswagen plant in South Africa, there was a guy who would take out ash or waste of some kind in a wheelbarrow at the end of every day. The security guards thought nothing of it, but it turns out he was selling the wheelbarrows for extra cash. In the age of sail, English shipyards would allow the shipwrights to take home chips, or scraps of wood from shaping beams and planks for the ships. These were burned at home for firewood. A problem for centuries was shipwrights doing things like grabbing a 10-foot piece of wood to fashion a 2-foot-long article and taking the rest home as chips. You bought really expensive hemp from Dwight's family. He's that farmer that grows really crappy weed. A very badass Great Dane I knew, a former neighbor's dog, was so afraid of a month-old kitten that he ran into the deepest room of his home and didn't stop quivering and whimpering for several hours. For context, he wasn't a timid dog. Little over a month before the mentioned incident, a drunk man attempted to break into their home at night and the dog bit half of his left foot off. P.S. Rest in peace, Scoob. Animals are very cautious around babies of another species. They know mom is around somewhere and will fight to the death to protect them. When me and my best friend were teenagers, we were walking home during the wee hours of the morning when a drunk guy basically acted like we knew him and invited us to eat. For some reason, we actually came with him and we ate at this 24/7 joint, where he told us about his adventures around the world, showed pictures, etc. We hung out until it was around 5 a.m. and walked home together. I have no idea who he effing was. I still don't. Probably just a time traveler wanting to hang with a historical figure before they got famous. In the future, time travel is invented, but the time machine can only transport drunk people. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.